going to try to talk about this a little later, but just before we went on the air, I found out that another great warrior and good friend of mine and the program, Voddie Baucham, was taken home. He was 56 and went in for some emergency surgery yesterday and is no longer with us. So my thoughts and prayers are with his young family and his wife. This man was a giant spiritually and a giant for American freedom. Now, let's talk about, we're at an inflection point right now. We're at a place, a change of direction that we really haven't seen since the 1960s, where political violence was seen as justified. And it is seen as justified now for a lot of people, a terrifying amount of people. And this has changed. The battleground is no longer a virtual battleground. We used to say, hey, you're at the tip of the spear, you're on the front lines, you're really in the battle every day. No, now it is. Now it actually is. We're not armed. We're armed with the truth, with light, with the Lord, with the Constitution. We try to do that. They're armed with bullets and guns. And things have changed. And I pray that the decency will return to our fellow Americans. The political elite, many of them are just turning a blind eye or silently nodding their approval as these dangerous lunatics plant bombs or shoot people from rooftops. But we are in a new era now, complete with the political assassinations and violent attacks on federal law enforcement and insurrectionist street movements, terror cells now working, it's havoc, it's chaos, and that is the point. So how did we get here? What's behind it? And where is it going? This is what I try to tell you every day to the best of my ability. I try to give you perspective. I try not just to give you the news. You can get the news a lot of places. You can get the outrage a lot of places. I try, and I am doubling my efforts to give you perspective so you can understand what all of this means and then bring some things to the table that you probably aren't aware of that I think are really important, and this is one of those things. Let me set the scene. Do you remember there was a tough-talking outsider burst on the political scene? Guy who's not from the establishment, promising to drain the swamp, crack down on crime, bolster the economy, stand up for traditional values, right? He's anti-illegal immigration. He wants to veto the radical bills left and right, call out the fake news media and the deep state judges who are about their own service and not the service of their country, and they were all trying to get him. And because of all of the scandals that he had and the family probes, and his base loved him, but his approval rating started to plummet. Then the left-wing attacks really begin. Massive protests organized by the opposition. Labor unions organized. Women's groups, student activists flooding the streets with candlelight vigils and marches drawing hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions, demanding his resignation because he's a fascist dictator. And in the clashes, there was violence. The opposition on the other side of the aisle, making governing absolutely impossible. They stall the confirmations. They slash his budgets, the things that he wants to do, launch investigation after investigation after investigation, turning his first term into a lame duck session. Who do you think I'm talking about? It's obvious, right? Donald Trump. Except I'm not. This is what happened to President Yoon in South Korea from 2022 to 2025. It is exactly the same story as Donald Trump. And we're seeing this in multiple countries. And it is extraordinarily interesting to me that the opposition is always passing almost the same word for word exact laws and rules. They're operating from the same exact playbook. It's a great reset. We just need a great reset. You know what we need is we need open borders. Anybody who says open borders are bad, you're a racist. All of it is exactly the same in country after country after country. Yoon was known, they called him the Korean Trump or K-Trump. He was a former prosecutor. He didn't have any political experience. He mirrored the U.S. Politics in many ways, deregulation to help big business, critical of unions, restrictive immigration policy, raids on undocumented workers, still recruiting record numbers for the economy. I mean, he was hawkish on national security. He strengthened our alliances with South Korea. He was confrontational with the communists in North Korea, socially conservative, taking on feminists, dialing back gender equality, or equity efforts, which he saw as reverse discrimination. All right. That was the president of South Korea. Let me get back to the Korean saga here in just a second, but let me remind you what we're currently seeing here at home and in places like South Korea, because it's all part of a global plan. That's what you have to understand. This is a global plan. This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about, are we going to go the globalist way, or are we going to be strong, independent countries that believe in actual freedom? That's what this is about. And until we stop arguing about the little stuff, until we back up, we're not going to survive. Because all of this is connected, and we better get smart on this fast, because it will happen at home here in an instant. Because the radical left is not operating in silos. They are coordinating. You're seeing this. This is why Donald Trump is now saying we got to go after Antifa. We have to go after George Soros. We have to go after Act Blue. All of these organizations that have been raising all of the money. It's why we went after USAID. That's not aid. That was a money funneler. They were funneling money to NGOs that were encouraging color revolutions in countries including our own. And it's getting worse. Look at what is happening in the UK and the EU. You can't even talk now about the dangers of mass immigration without the government shutting you down and possibly putting you in jail. They have the Online Safety Act, the Digital Services Act. These were platforms now are forced to police hate speech and disinformation. Massive fines, up to 10% of the company's global revenue. 6% in the EU. And that's if you don't remove it fast enough. So all these companies are like, we can't do anything. The freedom of speech is over. And it's vague definitions that chill dissent. It's exactly what we had been fighting here with big tech. And if we hadn't have won this last election, we would be right there with them. My voice would be gone today. They wouldn't have had to kill Charlie Kirk. You can't even fly a British flag now. A British flag. You cannot fly it without risking an arrest in Great Britain. They're trying to hoist the Union Jack, and they send the police out. And there are multiple cases of this happening. And religion? I mean, what religion is left? They're coming for that. In the UK, there's been massive confusion and outrage over Bible Gateway. That's a website. You can go here, Bible Gateway. It's an app. Now, suddenly, it's unavailable to users in England and in the EU. Why? What happened? What happened? Social media blew up with claims that it's the Online Safety Act blocking it because it has harmful content in it. What? What harmful? Well, it speaks eternal truth. Men are men, women are women. The publisher says, no, it's just technical issues. Really? Really? Wow, because I know Bible Gateway's been around for a long time. You're having technical issues now, which is causing a blackout in all of Europe and the UK. Wow. Critics are saying this is government overreach, possibly tied to scanning mandates for illegal or harmful material, restriction of religious texts. This is not isolated. Polls now show that young Brits are open to banning books like the Bible because it's hate speech. So it's not just the elites, it's also the youth that have been indoctrinated. And it's the same playbook, time and time again, all over the world. They've captured our schools. They are either going globalist or communist, but it's absolutely authoritarian. They are taking on our churches. They're taking on our freedoms of speech. They have perverted our own laws, our own country, our own histories. They have to control the narrative and silence the faithful. Because honestly, what gets you up in the morning? If you're going to fight this, what is motivating you? The only thing that would motivate me, the only thing, and I have had conversations with people in my business as they are trying to sort through this new world we're living in and ask themselves, do I continue to fight? Do I continue to stand? Do I go out on stage? Do I speak out in public where I can be shot? The answer is, that's between you and God. That's between you and God. But you have to be clear because you are now risking that. So that's the only important thing I could do. I mean, if I said it's between me and my children and my family, no, I'm not going on stage. What could possibly get me to go on stage? Only God. Only God. That's why they must shut down the churches. Because only God will give you the courage to stand for His rights. Only God will give you the courage to say, it doesn't matter what happens to me. I'm serving a higher cause. And I'm doing it with love. And I'm doing it without a gun. And if it means I lay down my life, I lay down my life. But that's happened in the entire history of our country. That's why every soldier has ever died. That's why Abraham Lincoln died. That's why Martin Luther King died. That's why Charlie Kirk died. It's noble. It's not wanted. It's despicable when it happens. But because it's in service of your fellow man, because it's in service of your God, it is noble. This is why they have to shut religion down. Now, let me go back to the story of what is coming and what is happening in 60 seconds. Sirens go off in Israel. Families have seconds to react. Mothers grab their children. Fathers scan for shelter. Rockets don't care if you're rich or poor. Religious, secular, it doesn't matter. The aftermath always hits the most vulnerable the hardest. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground now in Israel when these things happen. In these days, weeks, months that follow, they provide shelter for the displaced, food for the hungry, aid for the wounded, and care for the children that have been constantly, nonstop traumatized by war. They also support Israel's first responders, the medics, the firefighters, search and rescue teams who risk their lives to save others. In times of peace, they build stronger communities. In times of crisis, they stand in the gap. They can't do it without you. Tanya and I have joined the millions that give to IFCJ to support the people of Israel. Not the war machine, not any of that. The people. Let them know you have a right to live. You have a right to make your own decision and chart your own course. And we will help you in your times of need so you have food and shelter. Get more information about how you can join now the Flags of Fellowship movement. Go to the Fellowship online and read all about it. ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. 10 seconds. All right, so let me go back to President Yoon. He shows up as this Korean Trump, right? Politics mirroring conservatives, what we're talking about here, pro-U.S. alliances, tough on North Korea, economic deregulation, traditional family values, all of exactly the same stuff, okay? But the left-wing protests erupt almost immediately after his 2022 election, organized by the Democratic Party and also the trade unions, like the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, women's groups, Koreans Women's Association United, student coalitions under umbrellas like Candlelight Action. They had weekly rallies in Seoul, tens of thousands strong, peaking at 1 million post his downfall, demanding his resignation. So, you got it? Have you seen those groups here? Students, women's, labor unions. They weren't always peaceful. Clashes with police, pro-Yoon groups, rival pro-Yoon groups, similar to our Tesla takedown protest or violent anti-Musk actions, but rooted in that candlelight tradition that happened in 2016 that ousted the other conservative. Hamstringing the government, absolutely. He had a landslide April 2024 elections because he reacted, and I'm going to tell you, but they had a landslide on the other side. They took 192 of the 300 seats. The left did. Okay, they blocked appointments, vetoing reforms on labor and security. They were winning everything. And Yoon saw this and looked at this as legislative terrorism. And he stood, and I remember the day, you might remember this too. He stood in front of their parliament and he said, 60 or 70% of you are all on the payroll of communist China. You are letting people come across the border from China. You are aiding North Korea. I don't trust any of you anymore. And so what did he do? He did exactly what they wanted him to do. And this is where it becomes very important for us. He did exactly what they wanted. He overreacted. He declared martial law. This is the first since the dictatorships, and he put troops around the assembly, the election commission. He banned all assemblies and all strikes, and he said, I have no other choice. It's out of control, and you can't trust these people because they're all trying to overthrow the government. He justified it as fighting for pro-North Korean anti-state forces. However, it didn't last long because that's not the way the people saw it, and that is what the left had said about him the whole time. He's going to become an authoritarian dictator, and he gave them the fuel that they needed, and the protests swelled, impeachment happened quickly, snap election was held, and the other side shifted. The next election, everything shifted massively to the left. Wealth taxes, China, North Korea ties, everybody's going that way and away from America. Progressive reforms. They have an absolute majority, president and supermajority of the assembly in South Korea. Now, what are they doing right now? It's something that Charlie Kirk found out about and why he was there just a few days before he died and said, I have to let people know. I'm going to let you know what it is next because it's the plan here as well.
This is Glenn Beck.
There are a lot of ways to support a cause: signs, votes, donations, but there's another way that doesn't get talked about much, and that's choosing companies that do business that you do business with that actually share your values. Companies like Patriot Mobile, for instance. They're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to them, you're getting excellent coverage on the same towers as the big guys, but you're also putting your dollars to work. A portion of every bill goes to support pro-life causes, veterans, religious liberty, first responders. We have got to get out of business with the people who are destroying our country. We have got to put our money where our heart is, where our mouth is. Instead of funding companies that actively work against you, stand with one of them that is fighting with you. Patriot Mobile. They make it super easy to switch. Keep your number. They give you great customer service that's actually human. You can upgrade your phone, your number, whatever, or keep it all. It's patriotmobile.com/Beck. Save money right now. 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Beck. patriotmobile.com/Beck. Get a free month of service right now for using the promo code Beck. patriotmobile.com/Beck or 972-PATRIOT.
We have so many important stories we don't get to every day. You'll find them in the email newsletter. It's free. You can sign up now at glennbeck.com.
We have so much to talk to you about South Korea and why this is so important, what they're doing now in South Korea, and what is it's. I urge you, when I found out about what was happening in South Korea, my first response was, oh my gosh, this is the playbook. This is exactly the playbook of what's coming here. They are all counting on us, Europe, England, South Korea. Everybody's counting on us to realize this and step to the plate. But it's. I get to more of it here in just a second. But the big breaking news today is Comey's indictment. He's been indicted on 2 of the 3 charges that went to the court, and he. Grand juries, Stu, don't I have this right? Grand juries, they are presented with evidence, and they say, we have these 3, in this case, we have these 3 charges. Do you think we should pursue this? They go through it, and then they say, yeah, you don't have enough, or you, in this case, you have enough for 2, but not for the 3rd.
You're describing a functioning legal system.
Yeah, right.
I think that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, I mean, the criticism of that is, what's the phrase? You can indict a ham sandwich. That's what they always say. Well, you can always get in it. Now, I don't know if that's fair. In this case, John should know, though.
Yeah, we have John Solomon, and we're going to go back to South Korea here in a second, but I want to get this from John. John from Just the News. He's the CEO and editor-in-chief. Can you tell me, the mainstream media is trying to make it look like, oh, this is just political retribution. How does this system work?
Yeah, well, listen, you saw the system work the way it's designed to, which is that the Trump Justice Department wanted 3 charges. The grand jurors thought only 2 were warranted, so they only handed up a bill of indictment for 2. And I think that should give us confidence that this is the sort of indictment where you didn't do the ham sandwich. You had a thoughtful jury that looked through the evidence and said, listen, 2 make it, 1 don't. And I think that's the way our founding fathers intended the system to work. And now, he's entitled to, he's presumed innocent, Jones.
Yeah, I know.
He's presumed innocent, and he'll go through the process. I think people will see, by the time this case is over, that the evidence against him is going to come from his inner circle. There are 3 people that the FBI has developed evidence from that James Comey had authorized leak. One of them is Andy McCabe. The second is James Baker, his general counsel, who told that to the Postal Inspection Service on some documents I broke a few weeks ago. And then there's a question about emails and contacts with his chief of staff, James Rybicki. So when this case is made, you're not going to be hearing from some far-flung Trump witness. You're going to be hearing from 3 people in the inner circle of James Comey during the time when James Comey reigned supreme at the FBI. That makes this a very powerful case. His own inner circle will most likely be the witnesses against him at a trial.
Okay, so can you tell me the 3rd charge that didn't fly, and then tell me the 2 that did?
So there's 2 counts of false testimony. We don't know exactly the statements they are. We know that they appear to come from questioning of Senator Cruz on one,
yep,
and Senator Lindsey Graham on the other, I believe. I believe the Cruz one is the one that makes it into the indictment. The second exchange at that hearing in September 30, 2020 doesn't. We don't know because the indictment is sort of silent to the specific statements. We have some idea what the Cruz one is because that's been played time and again, and we know that was a source of a referral. Referral was made against James Comey, and it cited his answer to Ted Cruz. So we believe that was an impetus for part of this investigation, a criminal referral that came in on that.
So hang on. Hold on just a second. So you know, in case you don't remember the Ted Cruz exchange,
yeah,
he was saying did you ever ask somebody to leak this information,
That's right.
or did you do it? Were you involved in the leaking of this information about Russiagate at all?
That's right.
And he said no. Then
Right.
people in his own circle said, well, that's not true.
That's right.
Yeah, and so now when Ted Cruz was asking him again, he's like, one of you is lying. Which one is lying? And
That's right.
he doubled down and said, it's not me. So he was accusing the other people. But
That's right.
if I'm not mistaken, new evidence, including the people in his own inner circle, shows that, yeah, it was him that pushed it out.
Yeah. Well, what they're saying is that he authorized it. So you've got Andy McCabe saying that he had been asked. That we've known about for some time, and that's what Ted Cruz was drilling down to in the 2020 testimony. What came to light recently, only in the last couple of weeks, a story we broke, is an FBI document that refers to some Postal Inspection Service agents who interviewed James Baker. And James Baker does something even more severe than what the indictment alleged. But he alleges that Comey not only authorized him to leak, but that he specifically authorized him to leak a piece of classified intelligence in October 2016. So for the first time, we have an allegation from an inner circle member saying, not only did James Comey ask me to be the source, what he asked me to leak was a classified piece of information. Now, the way Baker describes it in this interview is that I understood from the chief of staff that James Comey had asked me to leak this piece, and I went and did it. So he says it comes through the chief of staff, and that's how Rybicki, the chief of staff, James Rybicki, and James Baker are implicated in that second leak. It's important to note that the indictment did not seek at the present time, a charge of leaking classified information or authorizing the leak of classified information. But it does say that he lied when he said he didn't authorize people. Now, any one of those three could be evidence that James Comey asked others to leak information and be an anonymous source on his behalf. Any one of those three could show up as witnesses there. We'll see how it ends up. We know there's evidence from all three leaning in that direction or directly stating it.
Okay, so what does that mean if he would be found guilty? What is a likely sentence?
There's a history here. Exactly 50 years ago this year, John Mitchell, the Attorney General for Richard Nixon, was convicted on two similar charges, false statements and obstruction. Isn't that ironic? Of course, that was in Watergate. He got about 18 months to 3 years, I think, was his sentence. These charges today carry 5 years. You could imagine anything from a suspended sentence if he's convicted to some prison time. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of that will come into, first off, what sort of trial does James Comey seek? Does he seek a trial by a judge or by a peer of jurors? That's one big thing that we'll have to be watching. But that will have an impact. And then from that, you'll see a sentencing recommendation. And another dynamic to keep a close eye on. Remember, we've been reporting that they're looking at a larger grand conspiracy case, that maybe James Comey was involved in more than this one alleged crime that is still in the statute of limitations, that maybe what went on in Russia collusion in 16 and 17 was an ongoing criminal conspiracy to abuse the criminal justice system to get Donald Trump. You could always imagine at some point a superseding indictment. That's happened in cases like this. So there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of history still to play out before we get to sentencing. But we'd have to see that the first key thing is knowing whether this is going to be a judge trial or a jury trial, and we'll see what James Comey picks.
Help me out on the people that say this is Donald Trump, he's just abusing the law, et cetera, et cetera. You know, he fired the guy, on Saturday that wouldn't push it through, and so he's just going after his political enemies. Can you make a case either it stands pretty strongly, or where does that fall apart?
Well, listen, I like to look at the words that President Trump said carefully, because obviously President Trump injected himself into this process over the weekend. But what President Trump said is, I want a decision to be made quickly, one way or the other. If he didn't do it, don't charge him. If he did do it, charge him. Let's get this over with. That is different than saying, charge this guy no matter what, right?
Right.
And I think in Donald Trump's world, he likes velocity, and he is moving at the speed of light in this presidency. And the idea that a statute of limitations was coming up and no one had made a decision one way or the other was frustrating to him. I think if people look carefully at the words he chose, He was not telling the Justice Department, indict him in spite of the evidence. It was just make a decision before the statute of limitations comes up. That's all I want. If he's innocent, don't charge him. If he is, charge him. Now, on top of that, he clearly is a Comey critic, and Comey is a critic of Donald Trump. Their battle is well known. History has shown that Donald Trump's assessment of Comey turned out to be more accurate than Comey's assessment of Donald Trump. Comey believed Donald Trump was a Russian asset. John Durham concluded in the Biden administration that wasn't the case. There was no evidence of that. Donald Trump fired James Comey, saying that he had mishandled his job as the FBI Director. The Justice Department Inspector General concluded that Donald Trump had proper grounds to fire James Comey. He did, in fact, abuse his job. So when you look at the refereeing, calling balls and strikes in this personal battle between two guys, Donald Trump's opinion of James Comey and his actions have been upheld. James Comey's pursuit of Donald Trump as a Russian threat has been debunked. And so I think that has to also be weighed into what people look at when they weigh the facts and the he and she battle that's going to play out. Believe me, the Democrats are suddenly going to be worried about weaponization of the Justice Department after years of ignoring it. I find it amusing that they're suddenly singing that song.
Tell me about the other indictments that could be coming. Letitia James,
Sure.
You have Clapper. Where do those things stand?
I think there are a lot of pending requests for subpoenas, and the Justice Department has got to get through the process of issuing them, getting the evidence, and then deciding what should go before a grand jury and what does a grand jury think of that evidence. One of the things that is a factor in this is that the Justice Department isn't fully staffed yet, 8-9 months into the presidency. That's an unfortunate thing. They're stretched thin, and the FBI is running far ahead of the Justice Department. The number of lawyers to review congressional document requests is lower than what's needed. The number of prosecutors confirmed by the Senate. So Kash Patel's team has ginned up tons of new evidence, has made numerous criminal referrals. I'm told there's as many as 150 subpoena requests that are pending in different cases. The Justice Department's working through them, but with a staff, we wanted the deep state to be shrunk. It got shrunk. It hasn't been filled quick enough yet. And so the Justice Department's lagging behind the evidentiary flow that the FBI has. I think they're looking at several people. I think the most likely next decision to be made is John Bolton. We saw the search warrant returns this week that John Bolton did, in fact, have classified information in his office, including classified evidence about weapons of mass destruction, very sensitive stuff, it would seem to be. That seems like that is ripening and ready for a new thing. The question of
wait.
all the...
Why does that It seems like everybody has classified information. So why is that one so important?
Well, one could. He is a different figure than a Donald Trump was. Donald Trump had declassifying authority and had the argument before him that when I brought things to Mar-a-Lago, I had declassified them. Obviously, he won that case. The case was dismissed on multiple grounds. Joe Biden was in a much grayer area. He was vice president. He didn't have absolute declassification authority. He took it with him, and the prosecutor assigned to that, albeit someone that came from the Trump administration carried over into Biden, said he was too old to prosecute. I don't know whether that was a great decision or not. People will debate that. But Joe Biden wasn't absolved. He was given a pass because he was old and fumbling and bumbling. John Bolton is in a very different category. He had no declassification authority. He had plenty of training to say you do not take that with you. And there is a precedent of prosecuting national security advisors who illegally take classified information with them. I broke this story 2 decades ago. Sandy Berger, the national security advisor for President Clinton, went to the National Archives and tried to secret in his socks and pants classified documents and steal them from the National Archives. He got prosecuted. So when you get down to the level of a John Bolton or a cabinet secretary, there is no presumption of declassification authority, and there is a long history of prosecuting them. And you keep mentioning it, and I think you're right, Glenn. We have an absolute scourge of classified theft and leaks. And until we start prosecuting people, the deterrence factor is not there. And downstream from some of these leaks are real consequences. Human sources get killed in the intelligence community. Spy operations get rolled up and exposed. Tactics of the U.S. military and the U.S. intelligence community get exposed to our enemies, particularly China and Iran. So the reason to prosecute a John Bolton, if the evidence warrants it, is to begin to send a message that going forward, you're going to do hard time if you take anything out of your office and do it. And remember, one of the things we know, John Bolton did move some stuff to his classified emails, move stuff to emails, and then he was hacked. Our enemies got a hold of it. Hillary Clinton got a pass. Sandy Berger didn't get a pass. I don't think John Bolton's going to get a pass.
John, as always, thank you very much. I have so many questions for you. We'll have you back next week.
We'll get back again.
Thank you. God bless you. Let me talk to you about Chapter. Let's talk about Medicare for a second. I know it's a fun subject, but I promise it'll just be 1 minute. Since I talked to you about starting working with Chapter, they have helped over 1,000 members of this audience. Half of those have gotten into a much better Medicare plan as a result. These people were being outright scammed. And the reason why you can get scammed on this is they're the only ones that I think cover every possible coverage aspect of Medicare. They are 8 to 10 times the standard number of choices. They explore all of them. The other ones only are doing a few because that's where they can make their money. They've earned my trust. Let them earn yours. Medicare enrollment starts soon. They're going to get busy. Do not wait. Please, whether you're on Medicare or soon will be, give them a call right now. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch. It's easy and completely free. They review all of it in under 20 minutes. Just dial pound 250. Say the keyword Chapter. It's pound 250, keyword Chapter.
Beck will be right back.
Imagine waking up one morning to find that the one thing that you'd worked a lifetime for, the deed to your home, has been quietly altered by someone who never even set foot on your porch, doesn't know who you are, but doesn't care either, because that person now owns your home. Title theft is a very real problem, and it happens in the ways most people don't see coming. Home Title Lock watches the official records for you. It's kind of scanning the county clerk's databases and title offices every hour, so you don't have to. And the minute anything unusual shows up, you get an alert. And then the real work begins, because a U.S.-based resolution team will help step in. They will help put the record back where it belongs. They will help fight to restore your title. Because when someone tries to rewrite your ownership, you need people who know the system and won't, let the red tape become some big roadblock for you. It's not about scaring you. It's about being practical and proactive, because a lot of homeowners sleep with the right to their house on paper and assume it's safe, and their head's on the pillow and they're not thinking about what's going on. But cyber criminals are awake. AI is awake. It's working all the time to try to steal stuff from you, and your home title is probably the most valuable thing they're ever going to get their hands on. It gives you the confidence to know that someone is watching your back, basically. That's what Home Title Lock does. AI is changing the world. Don't let it change the name on your home's title. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the code BLAZE. It's HomeTitleLock.com. The code is BLAZE.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I guess they're walking out of the United Nations now because, Iran's not speaking, because they don't walk out with Iran. North Korea, he's not speaking because they'd sit through that. Benjamin Netanyahu is speaking.
Oh.
So got to walk out. So it's fascinating.
Shocking.
Fascinating. All right, we're going to get back to what is coming next here in America. And the playbook, I believe, is South Korea. And we'll explain that, because we're about to lose South Korea if we don't wake up.
This is Glenn Beck.